This is the CarterCast, the pre-proposal show for dating couples designed to make engagement ring shopping easy, understandable, and fun. I'm Josh, and this is CGA GG, current president of the AGS, and Jackal's Jewelers CEO, John Carter.
Hey, buddy.
Welcome back again to your show.
Thank you.
Today, it's a big episode. It's a fun, one of our favorite topics today.
Yes.
We are going to talk about gemstones to avoid and gemstones to choose if you don't want a diamond.
Yes.
It's a popular topic, I would assume. Some people don't want diamonds. We'll talk about that.
Yep.
What should they do? What should they not do if they don't?
Okay.
But first, let's pop the question.
Oh.
Are you ready? On which part of the body would you most commonly see a piece of jewelry known as a torque? A, the neck. B, the wrist. Or C, the belly button.
I'm just glad you didn't ask me about a cod piece or something like that. I don't.
Well,
a torque?
Yeah.
Well, let's go. I'm gonna go navel ring.
Did I legit stump you?
Yeah, that's very stumpy.
I thought you would know this.
You know, this is our show, and we have pre-show communication. You could tell me these things before we have the show.
Well, what would be the fun in that?
Oh, that's true. That would be less entertaining for the people. Yeah, I'm going to go with the belly button. But that's a pure guess. So if it's right, it's an accident.
That's incorrect. Yeah. That's wrong.
I don't know. Oh, is it like a thing?
It's the
thing.
It's called a torque.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right.
Wow, what an embarrassing showing. Okay, that was not planned to go that way. I thought he would know that.
No.
I'm kind of let down.
Last week you asked me about the bottom of a diamond.
I did. That was easier.
Way easier.
I thought you knew all things jewelry.
No.
Clearly, I overestimated.
No, I very specifically said last time that I don't.
I apologize for giving you more credit than
No, that's okay. Actually,
deserve.
I would prefer for your questions to be harder because I like to learn things.
Well, we all learned together that the neck jewelry is called a torque.
I feel like most people out there didn't know that, except for my jewelry industry friends that are going to see this and probably laugh at me.
Yeah.
They're going to act like they knew, but
they didn't.
I can think of at least 5 people that didn't know it. You know who you are.
And you're one of them. So, we will move on
now
to...
It's 6.
Now it's 6. All right. Gemstones choose if you don't want a diamond.
Yeah.
Let me start with, in your experience, why don't couples want a diamond? What's some common things that you hear?
It might be that somebody really wants to do something different. You know, they might want to buck tradition. They might not want what their grandmother had or their mom had. It's not any way to disrespect tradition, but they want to create their own traditions. It's very important to this generation, our generation, really. I mean, our generation, which is you're probably Generation X, right? You're on the cusp.
I'm what's considered an exennial. Sometimes I'm possibly the oldest living millennial.
This explains so much, actually.
Yeah.
I'm obviously square in the middle of Generation X, but I always say that I have way more in common with millennials than I do with my own generation. So
that's exactly
probably why we're such good friends.
That's what a Gen Xer would say.
Is it? That's so Gen X of me.
I have so much in common with those Utes.
Josh, I'm trying to stay on topic here. And what you asked me was why people would not want to have a diamond. And I think the most important thing is they want to start their own tradition, and they might not just subscribe to what society, whatever that means, has told them to do. And they might view having a diamond as being socially irresponsible. Now, that's something that we'll tackle probably in future episodes. I would think about some of the facts and some of the myths surrounding that, because there are both. And so they walk in the store and they'll say, hey, I don't want a diamond. What are my other choices?
Yeah. And how often does that happen? Do you get a customer that comes in the door and they are asking those questions about alternative gemstones to diamonds? Have you seen it more lately?
No, it's probably less lately than it was. Yeah, than it was like 4 or 5 years ago. But
why? What do you think explains that?
The diamond producers are working very hard to make sure that the carbon footprint of bringing diamonds out of the ground is as little as possible. And I think that they've gotten pretty good at telling that message of the good that they do. I also think that the reality of it is that diamonds really do a lot of good in the communities that diamonds are mined. In particular, there are many of these countries where diamonds are the main source of income and the main GDP for these countries. If it wasn't for mining of diamonds, they might not have very much. And again, this is future conversation.
Yep.
So some of the things that were, I don't want a diamond because it's socially irresponsible. Now I do want a diamond because it's socially responsible.
Yeah.
Right. So some of those things, the paradigm has maybe shifted a little bit.
That's encouraging to see, actually. That,
when you consider 10 million people on the planet rely on diamonds for their livelihood in one way, shape, or form.
But like you said, we'll talk about it. We'll devote full episodes to that specific topic. But like you said, there are some bad skeletons in the closet of the industry, and a lot of those things have been addressed to some extent.
Yeah.
And I think it's encouraging. I think that you seem to be able to correlate that the trend might be swinging back towards people wanting diamonds in conjunction with some of those steps being taken in a positive direction. That's
Well, I also think that too. Like, let's face it. Almost every engagement conversation. Of course, not the engagement of I want to marry this person, right? But the conversation, once you've decided that, now let's look at things. That conversation of what we should put on the finger starts online.
Sure.
And so a lot of times they'll go to the internet. Almost every time they'll go to the internet to begin that search. And then I think there was a lot of misinformation, maybe more a decade ago than there is now, about the practicality of other gemstones in the ring. And I think a lot of that has been corrected. I think that most of the research that you can do nowadays in terms of researching a gemstone's hardness or its toughness is much more specific and more correct. So I think people walk in the door maybe armed with a little bit of better information than they had in years past.
Yeah. So most of what you have around here are diamonds. I would imagine most jewelry stores are the same. So if I'm a shopper who wants something other than a diamond, are my options going to be limited if I go into a jewelry store, or do you and most jewelry stores have a good selection of these other alternative gemstones that you'd be able to help me out if I come in wanting something other than a diamond?
I think most stores probably don't have a lot of loose colored gemstones, but they'll have mounted gemstone jewelry that typically doesn't foot the bill, though, when somebody wants a colored stone engagement ring. Does that make sense? Because they don't want to have, say an emerald ring with a cluster of diamonds around in the middle. They want something that looks bridal, but they don't want it to look like a colored stone fashion ring. And so you do need, it's really a different process.
Yeah.
If you walk over to the diamond counter in most jewelry stores and say, I love this vintage style engagement ring. I like this halo style. I like this contemporary style. Most colored stone fashion rings are a little more everyday kind of right hand ring sort of fashion. It looks different, if that makes any sense. So it's easier to start that process in looking for a colored stone engagement ring with a loose gem. And that's probably where most stores are deficient. They don't have a lot of loose colored stones. I do personally here because I really, it's one of my passions.
Yeah,
so
I love those things.
I go to the Tucson Gem Show every year, and I come back with some various things that I think are good gemstone alternatives to an engagement ring. Okay. Not being if it's not going to be a diamond.
Right. All right. Let's get into this. So, top 3 gemstones to avoid if you don't want a diamond. So, if for whatever reason you don't want a diamond, do not choose these instead, or you're going to have a bad time. So, for reasons that we are about to learn. Number 3, quartz. So what is quartz, and why should I avoid it as the center stone in my engagement ring?
Quartz is the most abundant mineral on Earth. It's in almost everything. It's in countertops. When you see glittering flecks in concrete, that's usually quartz. The gemstone variety of quartz, there's a couple, but there would be amethyst is the most well-known, which is also the birthstone for February.
Amethyst is a type of quartz?
It's a type of quartz.
Okay.
It's the purple quartz that you'll see. And citrine would be another type of quartz. Then, of course, quartz really comes in just about every color.
Okay.
You'll see yellow quartz. You'll see green quartz. You'll see versions of blue quartz. A lot of times it's heat treated to turn it the color that you see. But when you're talking about these gemstones, whether we're talking about the ones that you want to avoid or the ones that you want to gravitate to, the first thing you want to do is you want to look at the hardness of the gemstone.
Okay.
On Mohs hardness scale, to take everybody back to high school chemistry class, I guess. Mohs hardness scale.
Yeah. Good old Mo.
It's all based on a diamond is the hardest material on Earth, right? A diamond is a 10 on Mohs hardness scale. Talcum powder, if I remember right, is a 1.
Okay.
Right? So the premise to the scale is something, the higher something is, the harder it is. And if a diamond is a 10, that means the only thing that could scratch a diamond would be another diamond. So go down 1 to a 9, and anything that's in that 9 range, a diamond could scratch itself and that.
Yes.
The thing in the 9 could not scratch the 10. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
So hardness is a terrific place to start. And it doesn't tell you everything about a gem, but it does tell you usually the practicality of wearing that gem on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. And the word you use there, I think, is important, is the word scratch.
Right.
That is kind of the sign of hardness, how you would measure that, the ability to be scratched.
Yeah.
Which is different from, I think, some other things we'll talk about in a minute.
Right.
But the scratching of the gem on the outside of it is...
Right, because here's the reality of it, right? When somebody comes in and they say, well, I really don't want a diamond.
Mm-hmm.
I want a amethyst.
Right.
The proper follow-up question for any professional jeweler would be, okay, this is your engagement ring. Is this something you want to wear every day?
Yes.
And that's not all. I mean, generally, yes, they want to, but somebody might not want to wear it every day. Because the reality is, if you're going to wear it every day, something in the hardness level of quartz, which I believe is like 7.5, 7 to 7.5, somewhere in that range, that's really not hard enough to wear every day. You're going to scratch it. And people will say, well, I'm not that hard on my jewelry. Living your life is hard on your jewelry. Trust me. If you have an office job and you put your hand into a filing cabinet and you grab the end of the filing cabinet, done. That stone is scratched. It just, that's the way it's going to work. And so, or, walking into work and you scratch against a brick wall, that'll scratch your gemstone. So you need to think about things like that. And that's one of the main reasons why quartz would not be a great gemstone choice.
Okay. Number 2.
Yes.
This one actually made me sad because I love the way this gemstone looks. But number 2, emerald.
Yeah.
Emerald. The Wizard of Oz can build a city out of it, but I need to avoid it if I'm putting it in my engagement ring. So what is emerald and why should I avoid it?
Here is the interesting thing about emerald.
Yeah.
Emerald actually has relatively decent hardness. It's a 7.5 to an 8. And I always say when you start to get into the 8s, gemstone's pretty decent choice to wear every day, right? So it's a 7.5 to 8, but it's deceptive because another thing that you need to consider is toughness of the gem.
Toughness.
So hardness is the gem's resistance to scratches.
Yes.
The toughness is the gemstone's resistance to chipping, breakage.
Okay.
And emeralds do not possess very high toughness. I believe they're a fair for toughness. I think it goes excellent, good, fair, and probably poor.
Okay.
And so it's on the lower scale of that toughness range. And so it's likely to chip.
Yeah.
So not as likely maybe to scratch,
Yeah.
though it's still a relatively soft gemstone. Again, not anywhere near what a diamond would be in terms of everyday wear and durability.
Yeah.
A beautiful stone. It's one of my favorite gemstones too.
Right.
I mean, sometimes people come in and they'll say, oh, she was born in May, so I want to give her an emerald. That's the birthstone for May, or amethyst, like we just said, for February. Again, not a great everyday piece.
Yeah. Do you find people are like let down by that when you have to tell them that the reason you should avoid these is because, well, you're going to wear it every day and you're going to have to, it needs to be tough and hard and all that.
Yeah, because it might be something that she's always dreamed of having in her engagement ring. And that is a tough conversation for us to have. And then I think when I first started in this business, before I really kind of knew some of this stuff that we're talking about, I think that people just thought I was just, as you've said before, like a shill for the diamond industry. Like I just wanted them to have a diamond. Well, I don't think it more or less whether you buy a diamond or an emerald or whatever. But there's beautiful symbolism behind a diamond, but there's beautiful symbolism behind an emerald as well. Yeah. But it's my job as a store that's been here since 1927 and that stands behind everything that we sell, that if I don't educate that customer properly and I put an emerald on that finger and she wears it every day and she works in her office job or maybe even something that's even a little bit more strenuous on her jewelry, and that thing is constantly chipping or scratching, that reflects badly on me. So this is why, by the way, that I feel like regardless of where somebody decides to shop, gemological accreditation is important. It's important for that store to know the difference of these things. There's no way somebody should walk through the store and understand that hardness of an emerald is a 7.5 to an 8, or that the toughness is poor or fair. I think it's fair, maybe, but still, either way, it's
risky.
It's risky.
Toughness is risky.
The toughness is
yeah. Well, and between the two, between hardness and toughness, I think I would rather have my stone scratched than chipped. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, maybe is right.
So,
because it depends where.
Right.
But typically, sometimes chip, it sounds like you take a huge chunk out of the side. It's typically not. It's typically.
But still.
It's typically something that comes out of the side.
Yeah.
And incidentally, diamonds can be chipped.
Well, we'll get there in a minute.
Yeah. A little bit of a tease.
Number one, though, the top gemstone to avoid in your engagement ring if you don't want a diamond. Opal.
Yeah.
Opal for sure. If you put an opal in your engagement ring, you will experience regret.
Yes, it's very
short order.
Yeah, it's very soft. I don't even know off the top of my head what the hardness of opal would be, but
it's measured more in softness.
Yeah, softness. It's quite soft. It's in the quite soft mode. Unless you do now, there are opal choices that would be excellent choices. Like a boulder opal is a pretty good choice because that's actually opal that's kind of backed by the host rock. Thus the term boulder opal, and they can be really beautiful.
Opals are really beautiful. They're so cool. Yeah. I would totally understand why someone would want an opal as an engagement ring,
and they're very, the color is so diverse.
Yeah,
you can have black opals from Australia. Some of the finest stuff comes from the Lightning Ridge area in Australia. Ethiopian opals can be really beautiful, and they're extremely different. Ethiopian opals are a little bit more yellow cast. Black opals are really super vibrant blues and reds. And then boulder opals kind of look like that black opal with just a little bit of the host rock behind them. We've had some really pretty boulder opals over the years, but again, it does not make a great everyday piece of jewelry. It just doesn't.
Yeah, for an engagement ring.
For an engagement ring.
And you put it in a pendant, put it in a necklace.
You can put it in a ring too, but you just have to understand. You have to understand that what you're wearing.
Yeah.
And treat your jewelry accordingly.
Well, and you're much harder with your hands than you are. That's why I said you could put it in a necklace because you're not really going to be swing your neck around.
Well, it's so much so, man, that
you might hit something with your hands.
It matters so much. The hardness difference between these gems is that gemological bodies like GIA even teaches don't store your soft gemstones next to your diamonds because
just accident.
Something can happen. Yeah, because if you bump it in the jewelry box or something like that, and the diamond flips over onto the top of your opal or your emerald, you can have a significant scratch. And in some cases, depending upon the gemstone, even the metal from the jewelry can scratch the stone.
So a lot about hardness, a lot about toughness, and there they are. So quartz, emerald, opal, the top 3 gemstones to avoid if you don't want a diamond.
Yep.
So consider yourself warned.
Hey there. Thanks for watching us talk to each other. Since you're still here, you should just subscribe. We're reimagining the Jack Lewis Jewelers YouTube channel, so come on this journey with us. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. So do it, and thank you.